start. Sorry for that little misstart, but we got it all working out. We got it all worked out. And yeah, it's Monday, and we're going to be back tomorrow, and then 3 days off for Thanksgiving. And we're going to get something a little festive today. We're going to do something a little festive, something in the season, Thanksgiving, season, Thanksgiving, feel good. We'll see. I hope you guys are going to spend it with your family. I'm going to spend it with mine. Before I get into the festivities, I do want to mention we are watching closely what happens with this new proposal for Ukraine. Another 180. The dude just turning himself in circles. 180 after 180 after 180, depending on what Putin says to him. And half the time we don't know what is said between these two. More than half the time, just as Trump starts to get his back stiffened up and his rhetoric starts to shift on Putin, they have a convo, and all of a sudden Trump falls right in line. This proposal, they're giving him till Thanksgiving. They're giving Ukraine till Thanksgiving for a deadline. And, some forensics people, some experts went through the proposal itself, and it looks like, from the verbiage and the sentence structure, it looks like it was written in Russian, then translated into English. And poorly, because it was found out kind of immediately. And I mean, that's just not good for Ukraine, especially considering the crux of the agreement is Ukraine needs to draw new borders. What Russia took, it's going to keep. You're not getting your land back. You're not getting the Donetsk back. You're not getting it back. And that may be why Russia is pushing so hard right now. They want to gobble up as much as they can before they can hopefully force Ukraine to accept new maps decided by what Russia has taken to this point. Okay. I also told you in a couple shows ago that I felt like Marjorie Taylor Greene was having a Leah Remini moment where she started to see clearly, Leah Remini did, Scientology and its methodologies and the way it hurts people and uses people. And it eventually led to a break. And then she came out and she spoke out against it. Did book tour, reality show, talk shows. I gobbled it up. I can't get enough of the Scientology stuff. The one on HBO is amazing. Going Clear. That one, I think, is the best one I've ever watched on it, although Louis Theroux has done some really good stuff on Scientology as well. I feel like Marjorie Taylor Greene is there. I said she was having the moment, and now the moment has followed through. She has resigned. She's going to resign by January 5th. She represents Georgia's 14th. Don't get all excited that some, out of nowhere, catch lightning in a bottle, Democrat candidate can come in and possibly steal that district. It's not going to happen. Just disavow yourself of that right now. That's deep red Georgia. It's not going blue, okay? Georgia has 10 days to announce a special election, okay? So they're going to have a special election for Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat. She did come out and hedge her bets a little bit. She said, hey, I may be resigning because the president called me a traitor. That's kind of the reason she gave. She went out and defended the victims. Trump called her a traitor. She quit. But she has been against certain policies recently. It wasn't just out of nowhere. She was vocally against the bombing in Iran, right? She was vocally against that. She also blamed the Republicans for the shutdown and wanted ACA language put into the resolutions. She was pretty clear about that as well. So she had broke with Trump on a number of things leading up to this, but now she's gone. So we'll see how hard she goes on the tour, right? She's going to go on the press tour. She's going to go be in the box, the talking head. She's going to go do that thing on several networks, both left and right, I imagine. And we'll see how fiery her rhetoric gets against this administration and Trump. But it really looks like she didn't want to go through getting primaried and the millions of dollars that were going to be spent smearing her. She just got out. January 5th, she's done. I also wanted to mention the Mamdani Trump meeting. I was going to mention it a couple shows ago that they were going to meet, right? And Scott said, you know what? Shelve it. Let them meet. Let's see how it plays out. And I said, that's good. That's good. I was going to mention how Trump had spent considerable effort against Mamdani in that race, right? Considerable effort. He had funded some of the people, some of his opponents. He had funded Silwa, talked great about Silwa early, He pushed the rhetoric that Mamdani was a communist. He threatened New York to withhold funding if you elect Mamdani. And then he went so far as to endorse his outspoken critic, Cuomo. And Cuomo himself said, yeah, he's endorsing me, but dude is still a fascist. He's still a fascist. Don't get it twisted. I hate this guy. But Trump endorsed him all because he hates Mamdani so much. And now they met. And, a lot of people are like, oh, Mamdani, he chickened out, right? On the left, they're saying Mamdani chickened out. It was such tough talk. The night of his, it was announced that he was elected. He had said, he called, Trump all sorts of things, a fascist. He called Trump a fascist. He called Trump out for withholding funds to New York and their transit system, all sorts of things. And then when he met Trump, he was very cordial. And so was Trump. And the right is really pissed about that. But let's be clear here. One, they're politicians. Trump especially is a sociopath. He doesn't feel anything. There's nothing Mamdani could say about Trump to make Trump feel anything. Now, he knows about retribution and revenge. He knows who his enemies are. No doubt about that. But I ask you this, Left. I ask you this. Would you rather have Mamdani go to Trump, tough talk, turn up the heat, and ruin their relationship? Or would you rather have him go there, be cordial, maintain his political positions, and have a decent relationship with this guy? Which one would you rather have? Which one would you rather have? I know which one I'd rather have. I'd rather have Mamdani in a position to affect positively Trump policy, at least in terms of New York. And Mamdani was smart about it. He kept circling back to affordability, which is one of the major points of Trump's campaign. It was one of the major sticking points of his campaign. One of the major platforms, affordability. Affordability is crazy. Mamdani agrees. And they smiled and they laughed and they were asked questions about their fiery rhetoric towards each other previously, and both deferred. Neither took the bait. And the right feels that Trump had way too much deference for Mamdani. And he even said in private to administration officials and people around him that he had respect for Mamdani because he was a good talker. He was a good politician. An effective talker. He had respect for that. So maybe Mamdani came off with a little bit of deference himself. I'd rather have that and have him have the ear of the president even a little bit than have him go to war with Trump at New York's expense.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're back with Brett Breaks Things, because democracy doesn't defend itself.
All right, on to the festivities, on to the feel-good. You know the show too well to know it's never that feel-good. Sometimes it is. But today I'm just gonna rage bait you. Honestly, today I'm just gonna rage bait you. We'll see how it goes. But the festivities, the official Christmas tree of the White House is arriving, and the First Lady, she will be welcoming the tree. Carson's Tree Farms in Sydneytown, Michigan, had the honor of providing the official White House tree, kicking off the holiday season. And you know what comes right around Thanksgiving, right? Turkey pardons. Last year, it was Peach and Blossom who were pardoned. The year before that, it was Liberty and Belle. Isn't that cute? This year, it's turkeys Cran and Berry. Why? Why Cran and Berry? If today's show is any evidence, there's always a reason for Trump's pardons. Well, after doing a little digging, Scott and I found that Cran, he was actually at the Capitol on January 6th. There is some video of him wandering around, pecking at crap on the House floor. Barry, 3 times convicted of fraud. Barry's mom shows up at Trump's crypto dinner. Trump's mom donates $1.5 million to his campaign. All of a sudden, Barry gets a pardon as well. Cran and Barry both pardoned. It's always something with this guy. I'm going to show you a lot of crayon and berry today. That's what we're doing today. There's always a reason. I keep circling back. This administration is open for business. He is innovating the grift. And this particular grift isn't really that much innovation. It's just done at a level that we have never seen before. We have seen president after president, Republican after Democrat, abuse the pardon. We've seen it. They've all done it. Okay? We're not doing whataboutism. I'm flat here to tell you they've all done it. But this is extraordinary. There are too many crayons and berries already in his second term. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I'm going to point out a few of the more egregious ones. That's what we're doing today. I'm going to rage bait you. I want you to know what this guy's doing with his pardon power. You either come with a check or your zealotry has to reach a certain level. You do one of these things. You will get a pardon by this president. That's it. Big enough bank account, bring the checkbook, or go hurt somebody for this man. Go break some real laws. You can get a pardon. That is what is so clear and so evident by the pardon after pardon after pardon setting a record pace. It's crazy. Let's start with this guy, Joseph Schwartz, okay? In 2019, there was an NBC News report about this Joseph Schwartz and his company Skyline Healthcare. And it reported about his company being mismanaged so poorly that they had to close a dozen of their 100 locations. And it reported about the residents, vendors, and employees and state regulators that were thrown into absolute chaos by this Skyline Healthcare. Another report came out shortly after that by McKnight's Long-Term Care News. All right, it's a healthcare news outlet. A report comes out, another one. And it talks about the failures of this company, the mismanagement of this company. It talks about 7,000 nursing home residents affected, 15,000 employees losing their job. It led to the way some states changed the way the facilities are regulated after this complete, never seen before debacle in healthcare regulation. Well, he was indicted. An investigation began, and he was indicted for allegedly using $38 million in payroll taxes for his own personal gain and for the expenses of the staffing companies. $38 million he fraudulently took from this company, forcing closes, patients affected, employees affected, thousands of them. So this guy could line his own pockets with his company's bank account, which should have been paying, payroll taxes. He wasn't interested in that. Alina Habba, illegitimate, fraudulent, unequipped, unqualified U.S. attorney for New Jersey who has been found to be illegitimately put in her spot. That one's done. A judge ruled on that one. 3 or 4 more to come. U.S. attorneys that were put there illegally, illegitimately by Pam Bondi. That Alina Habba, we've reported on her quite a bit. She actually picked up the case. Trump's Alina Habba. And she got a conviction and she got a sentencing in April. Now, Alina and her team wanted about a year. A year and a day is what they asked the judge for. The judge said, no. This is too much. This is too systemic. It hurt too many people. 3 years. 3 years Joseph Schwartz got. Right when Schwartz was sentenced, right then, he went and paid $960,000 to 2 lobbyists that work together, 2 businessmen that form a lobby team, 2 lobbyists named Jack Berkman and Jacob Wall. They themselves, now when you lobby like this on behalf of something or someone, you have to have a lobby filing. And in that lobby filing, there's a lot of disclosures involved in a lobby filing. And in those disclosures, they admitted they had been convicted of telecommunications fraud in Ohio and a robocall scheme that was meant to deter the turnout of minority voters in that area. And they were facing sentencing in Michigan on a similar fraudulent robocall case, which was brought by our FCC. And they were the two, all the way back in 2018, that filed without evidence that there were sexual assault claims against special counsel Robert Mueller. They accused Robert Mueller of sexual assault, completely fraudulent. These are the two guys that Joseph Schwartz gave $1 million to and said, get me out of this. And guess what? They did. They got him out of this. About 7 months after Haba extolled her office's role in sentencing this guy, she was ecstatic about the judge's decision, proud of her office's investigation. 7 months after that, Trump, full and unconditional pardon. Full and unconditional pardon. Berkman, one of the lobbyists, said, "We are just so proud and delighted that the president pardoned him. Other than that, I can't talk about clients. I'm sure you understand." He called Schwartz a wonderful human being and a man of God who had been unfairly accused by the Biden DOJ. Okay, yeah, you were indicted by the Biden DOJ, but you were investigated and convicted by Alina Habba and sentenced under her watch. They just will spin and lie. They know where their bread is buttered. Look at the favors done for them. You think they're going to screw it up now? They'll definitely come out and bullcrap the American public about what happened. They know exactly where their bread is buttered. Look at the favor Trump just did for them. So of course they're going to come out and say something like that. It was Trump's U.S. attorney in New Jersey that got the conviction in the sentencing. Let's be clear about that. Wohl, the other lobbyist, said, "We are extremely grateful for President Trump's bold action to clear the name of Rabbi Schwartz." It's Rabbi now. Thanks for the clarification, Wohl. So the White House was asked whether Trump or others in the White House or the Justice Department had met with either of the lobbyists, quid pro quo, cash for pardon. They said no one from the White House counsel nor the White House pardon czar met with the individuals named. Either way, the president is the final decision maker on all pardons. And this is interesting. And anyone spending money to lobby for pardons is foolishly wasting funds. Yeah, real foolishly. Dude just walked away from 3 years. How foolish was that? Seems like it was the correct decision. Well done, Joseph Schwartz. Your money went exactly where it needed to go to get the desired result. It needed to go in Trump's pocket to get you out of jail, and that is exactly what happened. Not foolish. Not foolish. The White House says, listen to this. Mr. Schwartz failed to properly oversee that some of the funding was used for company operations instead of taxes. No funds were used for personal enrichment, even though he was found guilty of that exact thing. And Mr. Schwartz immediately paid $5 million in restitution. Prosecutors initially recommended probation, but the judge insisted on a 3-year sentence. No, the prosecution recommended a year and a day and restitution. Liar. White House will just lie. Berkman, Wohl, they'll just lie. They'll just lie. They don't care. They will just lie. The facts are all there for us to gather. They're not lying to try to, convince Scotty or me or you. They're lying so when MAGA gets a hold of something like this, they can say, well, there it is. It was Biden weaponization. They've got an excuse for it.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Now back to Brett Breaks Things, smashing spin, silencing the noise, and keeping it all facts, no fluff.
All right. Tales of corruption for the holiday season. You want more? I got another one for you. I got more for you. I'm rage baiting you. You pissed yet? Give me a chance. Give me a chance to get there. We got this guy, Elihu Weinstein. Elihu Weinstein. Trump pardoned him just before he left office at the end of his first term. He was pardoned for investment fraud. That was a Ponzi scheme he had run. He had stole $230 million from investors in this Ponzi scheme. $230 million. Trump pardoned him. Pardoned him. Well, here we are, 3.5, 4 years later. He was indicted. An investigation was opened. He was indicted again. This is what happens when Trump takes favors for pardons and pardons scumbags like himself and puts them back out in society. Well, he has been convicted and sentenced. Trump pardoned him in 2021. He got out and immediately began his next Ponzi scheme. Immediately. He swindled investors who thought their money was going towards surgical masks, baby formula, and first aid kits bound for Ukraine. Bound for Ukraine is what they thought. It was a Ponzi scheme. He was taking their money and he was putting it in his pockets. Once again, he was convicted in April of several crimes, including conspiracy to commit securities and wire fraud. Okay? And he has been sentenced. He has been sentenced to 37 years for running this particular Ponzi scheme. He has to pay $44 million back to his investors. He also has a co-conspirator, one Arid Bromberg. He got 12 years in prison. He has to help pay back that $44 million. One of his victims included a single mother of 3 who he conned, literally conned, into into giving him all of her money. She gave him every bit of her savings, expecting this gigantic return. Well, she didn't get it. Obviously, she had to sell her home. And she was there at that sentencing, and she called Mr. Weinstein a predator. A predator. And the judge agreed and thought he deserved, as the ringleader of this scheme, the harshest punishment possible. Even in a recording, one recording was taken of this man, part of the investigation. At the trial, the recording was played, and he called himself, quote, the Ponzi guy. That's how he referred to himself, the Ponzi guy. Unreal. Unreal. By the way, Alina Habba, right before sentencing, Alina Habba met with Mr. Weinstein alone, without prosecutors, all by themselves. Nobody really knows what was discussed at that meeting. Nobody knows. It was highly unusual. Everybody on her staff, everybody around this case was like, what is she doing? This is insane. This is insane. Maybe they thought, like you immediately are thinking, is what kind of conspiracy bullcrap is this? Or maybe they were thinking she has absolutely no idea to do the job. She's completely unqualified. This is highly irregular. Either way, they were all pissed. She came out of that meeting, and then Weinstein was hit with 37 years. What happened at that meeting? What happened at that meeting? Was that a chance Mr. Weinstein had and did not seize upon to possibly get a lighter sentencing? Was that the lighter sentencing? What happened at that meeting? What happened? The prosecution actually asked for 50 years. That's what the prosecution asked for. 50 years. One of the prosecutors, Carolyn Seelane, said the government is asking for a significant sentence in this case because and she acknowledged that was an unusually, incredible ask. She knew that it was a big ask, but she noted that, look, he's been doing this for 2 decades and he has stolen over $250 million from innocent victims, and it's warranted. And then she told a story. One of his victims, before he was arrested, called to confront him about the money that had been stolen from him by Mr. Weinstein. Okay? And when the person confronted him, he said, I got a joke for you. This is Weinstein. He said, I got a joke for you. What do your wife and I have in common? And the victim said, I don't know. And he said, we both bleeped you. That's what he said to his victim when the victim confronted him. Glib little smart-ass joke. That story was told. And it did not fall upon deaf ears. They didn't get the 50, but they got 37 years for that gentleman. That's somebody that Trump felt deserved a pardon in his first term after a Ponzi scheme stealing $230 million. There's more. There's more. We've got the story of Daniel Edwin Wilson. We're going to keep hitting you. Daniel Edwin Wilson. All right. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 5 years in prison for his actions at the Capitol. Okay. They had a bunch of his messages. On his way to the Capitol. Hey, whoever's got ears on, even if you ain't in D.C., pass on the word. The people are pushing on the Capitol. We need all hands on deck. We have to get this government under control, and it's time for good men to do bad things. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He then entered the Capitol building at 2:37 wearing a gas mask, walked around the building, left 12 minutes later. They've got it all on video. He was charged. And later, he was pardoned by Trump, right? With the 1,500. Well, here's the thing. They searched his home while investigating his little appearance there on January 6th, and they found 6 firearms and 4,800 rounds of ammunition, and Wilson was not allowed to possess any firearms at the time because of prior convictions. So they convicted him of that. Put him right back in jail. And Trump pardoned him on the gun charges too. Pardons him on the front end for walking around the Capitol with a gas mask after breaking into the building. Pardoned him for that. And then after finding out that he had been charged on gun charges because his house was searched because of the January 6th appearance, he pardoned him on that as well. 5-year sentence. Pardoned. Now here's what's really, listen to this guy's lawyer. This guy, Wilson's lawyer. He said in a telephone interview that the pardon was, listen to this. He said the pardon was justified because authorities discovered the gun in Wilson's house only as a result of the January 6th investigation. Okay. Well, let me ask you a question, Mr. Norm Pattis, attorney for Wilson. What if they, because of the January 6th investigation, broke in their house and found a meth lab? Should that be thrown out? Should he be pardoned for that? Because they found the meth lab? What if they break into his house and they find a body? Or somebody chained up in his basement? Should he be pardoned for those? Because they were resulted from the January 6th investigation? Where does your little moral quandary here end? Where's your line, Mr. Pattis? That is a ridiculous argument. A ridiculous argument. Disingenuous, kind of filthy. Just a filthy, dirty argument out of this guy's lawyer. Pattis said, it was a spiteful and vindictive ruling, and I'm delighted to see President Trump grant these pardons. The sooner we put January 6th behind us, the better. We can't put January 6th behind us. We can't, because people who were pardoned over January 6th keep going out and committing crimes. Oh, wait till we get to that portion of the show. We can't put it behind us. They keep committing crimes. They keep doing it. They keep pushing this issue to the forefront, and Trump keeps pardoning these people. How can we put it behind us, Mr. Pattis? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Then there's Susan Ellen K. Oh, this one's right down here. Boca Raton. Boca. Yep. Right down here. All roads lead to Florida. All roads lead to Florida. This place is absolute chaos. Absolute chaos. And I ran down the list of the usual suspects that have popped up since leaving this area, getting their inceptions here, making their way to the highest echelons of our administration, ruining our lives. So many started in Florida. Scott, Rubio, Trump, Bondi, Gates. The list goes on and on and on. There is like Moskowitz, I love, Jared Moskowitz. Dude is doing an excellent job. It's not all bad. It's not all bad. So Boca, Susan K. Yeah. So the FBI had received a tip that Susan was at January 6th. She was there at the Capitol. Okay. And they also received a tip that she knows a bunch of people that were there rioting, doing damage, hurting police officers, breaking windows, going in the building. There was a tip that was credible that she knew a few people that were doing these things. Okay. So she was contacted and she agreed to meet FBI agents at her home as part of their investigation. And then on January 31st, she posted some videos. Before this meeting, she posted some videos. She said she would, quote, shoot their bleeping asses if the FBI agents showed up at her house. She would shoot their bleeping asses. So she was arrested. The videos were played, threatening an FBI officer, obviously. It's a crime, can't do that. She was found guilty. You can't do it. She was found guilty in 2022, sentenced to 18 months in 2023. Trump pardoned her. And here's the real sneaky part. After the pardon, turns out she hasn't been in jail already for about a year. She was released sometime in early 2024. Just walked out. She's been granted this pardon after the fact. Nobody really knows where she was right around the early part of 2024. Just walked out of prison. So, are you zealous enough? Are you willing to injure people in President Trump's name? Does your zealotry reach, federal indictment level? Are you willing to actually go out there and do some damage for President Trump? Because if you are, you can get a pardon. And then you can go out and commit some more crimes. And if it hits his radar, he'll pardon you for that too. But not everybody gets a pardon. This seems to be somewhat selective. But those who do get pardons, you know that deep bank accounts plays a huge role. Mr. Joseph Schwartz can attest to that. $1 million, some filthy lobbyist, and he walks out of jail, 3-year sentence. If you got deep enough pockets, you can walk away. Your zealotry hits federal charges level, you can walk away. Under this administration, because it is absolutely open for business.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. Breaking news, breaking rules, breaking through. Back to Brett Breaks Things.
All right. This is breaking. And I'm going to continue with what I'm doing because I'm enjoying myself very much. Cameron Curie, Magistrate Judge Cameron Curie. Remember, there's Magistrate Judge Fitzpatrick and Curie, and the judge overseeing the case, Nachmanoff. Fitzpatrick, he was interested on the Halligan missteps and the missteps taken by the DOJ and the U.S. Attorney's Office of Eastern District of Virginia to throw away the case. Curie was looking at the weaponization of the DOJ, and specifically, was Halligan inserted illegitimately? Both magistrate judges were looking at different aspects of the dismissal, the petition for dismissal. Well, guess what? Judge Curie has dismissed the case. Case is dismissed. And this is going to get bad for the DOJ on optics, especially if they're not able to save this. They can't recharge him on these charges again. The statute of limitation has run out. So they're going to pursue, and she dismissed it because she said specifically Halligan was appointed illegitimately. That is what she rested on for her dismissal. She could have pointed to a number of things. These 3 judges could have picked from a number of missteps. A lot of them committed by Halligan and her little defunct team because she couldn't get any real lead prosecutors. A lot of it was Halligan. Now, I'm going to be curious to see if Halligan is blamed for this because Halligan being appointed illegitimately is not on Halligan. That's on Pam Bondi. So according to this judge's dismissal, Pam Bondi is to blame. Pam Bondi's to blame. So will Halligan still lose her job because of the mistakes she made? Or will the details of her portion of culpability kind of fade and her job may be salvaged? I'm going to be interested to see that. Or will Bondi just fire her, vindictively? This is getting blamed on me, but you blew this case, you're fired. We'll see. Now, the prosecution is going to do one of two things. One thing, I don't know what it is, and we got to do some digging and do our research. It's called a savings, what's it called? A savings provision is what it's called. There's something called a savings provision. Maybe those of you way more versed with the law than me, maybe my beautiful wife, may know what a savings provision is. I don't. So I'll have to do my digging on that if they pursue that course. The other thing they could do is appeal, right? Which they're most certainly going to appeal it. We'll see. That is excellent news. Excellent breaking news here on Brett Breaks Things. We're breaking things. We're breaking that. We broke that. Dismissed. Love it. And by the way, to put a bow on this, if Comey is dismissed because of Halligan's illegitimate appointment, Halligan's the one that rushed the Letitia James indictment. According to Pam Bondi and Tom Blanche, they didn't even know about it. That case is done too. Now, they can recharge that under a different office with a different lead prosecutor, go get the indictment through somebody else. They can do that because there's no statute of limitation issue with Letitia James's charges. But if Comey's is thrown out because of this, that means Letitia James is going to be thrown out because of this. So let's just wait and see. You know what? I think it is. It is. It absolutely is. It looks like they attached. Well, there you go. It looks like they attached Letitia James as well. I see that now, Scotty. Well, there you go. So Letitia James is done. So they're going to re-prosecute that one, I'm sure, in a different office. So stay tuned on that. Stay tuned on that. More pardons. More pardons. Let's focus for a second on what happens when you pardon violent criminals. When you pardon the dregs of society for doing dregs of society type things. When they show you exactly who they are and your scumbag cult leader president comes in behind and pardons these people and puts them back into society. The whole reason you put people like this behind bars. Let's focus on this. Now, I do want you to know that Americans disapprove heavily of President Trump's recent pardons and commutations. They view them as controversial in nature and politically charged. Overwhelming Americans feel that way. Well into the red. Well into the red. And it is starting to come to the public's attention just how many of these people have reoffended since being pardoned. People are starting to take notice. They can't help but take notice. And I'm going to help you to take notice right now. Now, Trump pardoned 238 people during his first term. If we take the 1,500 J6ers out of it, he's already, to this point, 1/4 through his term, his second term, he's pardoned 142 people already. Wait till you see the blitzkrieg of pardons at the back end of this term. It's just going to blow our tits off. It's going to be crazy. We're not going to be able to keep up with him. It's going to be way too many when he gets to the back end of this term. But already 142. He's on a record pace. He's on a record pace. So here are some J6ers, and there's more than this. Here's the notable ones. But there's some others, not just J6ers in the back end of this list that have reoffended. But here's the reoffense list. Here's some people who Trump have pardoned, and they reoffended. Here we go. Andrew Tate. Tate was pardoned after participating in the January 6th attack. He personally assaulted police officers and pepper sprayed people and hit police officers with a metal whip. After his pardon, he was arrested on outstanding charges in Texas for online solicitation of a minor. Edward Kelly. He was pardoned for his role on January 6th. He's a former U.S. Marine, by the way, and he has now been convicted in a separate case. He's the one who conspired to murder an FBI agent. Pardoned J6er, conspiracy to murder an FBI agent. He has been sentenced to life in prison. I dare you to pardon him, Trump. I dare you. I shouldn't even do that. He may. I heard on Brett Breaks Things. I got dared. I got dared to pardon him. I'm going to pardon him quickly. Emily Hernandez. Hernandez participated in January 6th. She was even photographed holding then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's broken nameplate. After being pardoned, she was sentenced to 10 years in prison for a fatal DUI crash. Daniel Ball. He threw an explosive device at officers on January 6th. He was later charged with illegally possessing a gun as a felon. The U.S. Attorney's Office. Now, this one was interesting. Okay. So, he was pardoned for J6 through an explosive device. Pardoned. After the pardon, on a separate federal gun case, he was charged and he was charged. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Middle District of Florida threw away the case. Threw it away. Dismissed the case. I was like, why? Why? Well, the why is pretty interesting. The U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Florida used to be a man named Roger Handberg. Roger Handberg. As soon as Trump took office here in the second term, we're talking February, peaced out. Deuces. He's out of here. He's another U.S. attorney that didn't want the smoke. He didn't want any part of this. Obviously, Trump would try to weaponize any U.S. attorney in Florida he could. Obviously, Trump would come knocking at his door someday, and he just peaced out, just left. In comes Sarah Sweeney. She was the first assistant to the U.S. attorney at the time of Roger Handberg leaving, and she drops the case as the acting U.S. attorney of the district. And yes, she is a registered Republican. One of those U.S. attorneys. Just dismiss the case. David Daniel. He was a January 6th participant, pardoned, and then shortly after, production/possession of child pornography and sexual assault of a minor. Shane Jason Woods, J6, participant, convicted of aggravated DUI and reckless homicide directly after. He was sentenced to 17 years in prison. Theodore Middendorf, January 6th participant, currently serving 19 years for sexual assault of a 7-year-old and pleading guilty to that crime. Why is it always with the kids? Why is it always with the kids, man? Brent Holbridge, J6 participant, arrested for burglary, grand theft, and possession of stolen industrial copper wire. Zachary Alum, J6 pardon, arrested for home invasion and theft. Andrew Paul Johnson, this guy, pardoned J6 participant, arrested right here in Florida earlier in November, just early this month. He was extradited from Texas on multiple child sexual abuse related charges: lewd and lascivious molestation of a child under 12, molestation of a child from age 12 to 16, lewd and lascivious exhibition and transmission of harmful material to a minor. An arrest affidavit alleges he told one of these kids, by the way, he told one of these victims, hey, let me do this to you and keep your mouth shut. I'm a J6 pardoner. I'm one of the J6ers that was pardoned, and I've got a lawsuit coming. I've got a chunk of cash coming in a lawsuit, and I'll pay you. I'll pay you millions of dollars. Just let me do this and keep your mouth shut. You want to talk about parlaying your January 6th pardon into truly extraordinarily disgusting behavior. It's unbelievable. And by the way, don't forget Jonathan Braun. We talked about Jonathan Braun. I mean, douche pimples come up every time I look at that dude's photo, hear about what he did. Trump had pardoned him, originally serving a sentence for marijuana exportation, money laundering, predatory lending scheme, sentenced and then commuted by Trump in 2021. After Trump commuted Jonathan Braun, he's released and violated the terms of his supervised release. He was found guilty on multiple charges, including menacing, forcible touching, larceny, sexual abuse, failing to pay a fine. Allegations included assaulting a 3-year-old and the 3-year-old's nanny. He has been sentenced to 27 months in prison. That's what happens. That's what happens when you pardon people who deserve to be in prison. That is the result of Trump's 1,500 J6 pardons. Why is it always the kids, too? Why is it always the kids? It's crazy. It's disgusting. Somebody rushes the Capitol, assaults police officers, and breaks into a building. They deserve to be in jail. If you let them out, more people are going to get hurt. And God, it's always kids, man. It's always the kids that get hurt. I'm going to squeeze a few more in. Let's go back to the deep pockets aspect. Tottenham Hotspur. Does that name ring a bell? It's a professional hockey club in England. Tottenham Hotspur. One of the owners of Tottenham Hotspur, Joe Lewis, British billionaire, he was indicted on allegations that he schemed for years to abuse his access to corporate boardrooms, repeatedly shared inside information with romantic partners, associates, private pilots, drivers, anybody who had an ear, insider trading, federal insider trading charges. He was indicted and convicted. Well, of course, his family's worth $7 billion, of course, and Trump pardoned him. Just out of the blue, out of nowhere, you get a pardon. Trump family's worth $7 billion. You going to sit there and even leave a shred of a chance that Trump truly feels like this was an unjust conviction and that this dude's $7 billion had nothing to do with it? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And he's even out here pardoning people that his own DOJ and administration put in jail. There's this P.G. Sittenfeld. He was a rising Democratic star on Cincinnati City Council. Trump's administration opened an investigation and got an indictment, and they charged him with taking a bribe in exchange for his support of developmental deals. Like, he took cash for deals, basically, in his city. Devin Archer, a financier and corporate board member. He was convicted in a scheme to defraud $60 million from a Native American tribal entity. He was convicted and investigated by Trump's administration. And Brian Kelsey, a former Republican state senator from Tennessee, he was the target of a Trump federal grand jury investigation for illegally funneling nearly $100,000 into his failed congressional campaign. Trump's DOJ did this. Trump's administration got all three of these gentlemen convicted. Well, guess what? All three of them have now been pardoned by Trump. All three of them have been pardoned by Trump. And none of them, not one of them, qualify under our rule. We have rules for pardons, by the way. We have rules for these things. None of them qualify for any of them. None of these people do. None of these people do. Some of the rules that qualify, you have to, first of all, you're supposed to wait 5 years after your conviction or when you were let out of jail. So if you were convicted and hit with a fine, it's supposed to be 5 years after your conviction. If you were convicted and sent to jail, it's supposed to be considered no sooner than 5 years after you're let out of prison. That's rule number one. Rule number one. You have to accept complete responsibility for all of your crimes, and you have to show evidence of your rehabilitation. These are all under the guidelines of our pardoning, of presidential pardoning, or our pardoning czar, right? Doesn't have to be the president. We have a department for this, the pardon czar. You have to fulfill these qualifications. None of them did. None of these three did. In Archer's case, his pardon began being considered after he went and testified about Biden's son Hunter. One of the investigations into Hunter Biden, he went and testified against Hunter Biden, and then Trump considered his pardon. Crazy, Crazy. Doug Berman of Ohio State University, he's a law professor. He said it's not that he's correcting another administration's mistakes. He's rejecting his own, or more accurately, he's rejecting the work of people he appointed but didn't fully control. You see what he's asserting here is his control wasn't complete, total, and absolute in his first term. In his first term, there were still people doing honest work, convicting people who commit crimes and sentencing them. That's no longer happening in Trump's second term. But this law professor saying, yeah, in his first term, there were still people doing their jobs. And that he corrected that. It's not enough that he hires people who will be completely sycophantic and corrupt for him now. He has to undo the work of anybody who wasn't adequately sycophantic and corrupt then. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And by the way, Sittenfeld, who knows what happened there? This guy, in the past, he's called President Trump a demagogue and described him as a buffoonish carnival barker and called him, quote, a threat to democracy. And he got a pardon. He got a pardon. There's some evidence leading to that their lawyers, two of their lawyers, knew Trump in some way, were connected to Trump in some way. It's a little murky. But even a guy who was called Trump a buffoon, a carnival barker, it's fair. It's fair game. It doesn't matter. Do you bring enough to the table? Are you associated with anybody who can bring enough to the table? Somebody who's in the inner circle that you can get out. You can get out of it. You can get out of it. I also wanted to remind you, as we're wrapping this up, don't forget the 80 people that he pardoned just recently, including Rudy Giuliani and some of these people that were deeply, deeply invested in overturning the election, right? Biden won the election, and all those people went nuts. Starting with Giuliani and Sidney Powell and all those people, they all got pardoned. And all the fake electors, they all got pardoned. Every single one of them. Don't forget, though, Powell and some of these other actors, they still got their state case in Georgia, which has not been dropped. It has been picked up, and it will go forward. We'll see how much traction it gets. But the just find me 11,000 whatever votes with Kemp on the line saying, I'm recording you, Mr. President, and those votes don't exist. Remember that phone call? That case is still going in Georgia. Don't forget that. Don't forget Russ Ulbricht. Silk Road, illegally trading guns, drugs, hits for hire on his dark website, pardoned. Paul Wolzak, sentenced to 18 months for employment tax fraud. Trump pardoned him after he donated $1 million to his super PAC. Trevor Milton, he was convicted of securities and wire fraud. Sentenced to 4 years, a $1 million fine, and $168 million in restitution to his victims. Well, he donated $1.7 million to Trump's campaign, pardoned. And Scott and I were interested. What about the $168 million? It's murky, but there is a chance that those victims, the victims of $168 million worth of fraud, won't see a dime because of this pardon. So not only is Trump getting rich off of this presidential power, but he's hurting your pocket as well. If you're a victim of any of these people he's pardoning, you're not going to get justice. You're not going to get your money. You're not going to get justice. Trump is seeing to it personally. And of course, don't forget the piece de resistance. Sheikh Tanoon of the UAE wants to get super AI chips. The U.S. won't sell it to him because of their relationship with China. Trump comes in, fires everybody blocking the sale of these chips to Sheikh Tanoon. Sheikh Tanoon then repays the favor by giving Trump's meme coin $2 billion. And to make this transaction, they went through CZ and his company Binance, a cryptocurrency exchange. That's the company they did the deal through. Trump's getting tens of millions of dollars a month off of that account through CZ and Binance. And what does CZ get? A pardon. A pardon. He was the head of a company. He facilitated arms to terrorists. He facilitated drug trade. He facilitated human trafficking trade. Pled guilty to all of it. Facilitated this $2 billion deal from Sheikh Tanoon to Trump and the Witkoffs. And he gets his pardon too. Even at the time when I first reported that, and I said, they're doing this deal, Tanoon and Trump administration, they're doing this deal, and the Witkoffs and Trump's WLF company are getting this $2 billion. And I said at the time, what is this guy CZ getting? I even said that at the time. What's he getting for making this transaction? And we found out a presidential pardon is what he's getting. How deep are your pockets? How deep are your pockets? Come get this pardon. Now, this was great reporting by Bloomberg. This is an editorial by Bloomberg that I did a little diving into. And Scott and I did a little diving as well. Now, this Bloomberg editorial suggests 3 things that Congress could do to amend the pardoning power of the president. 3 things that are necessary. 1, no pardon should be permitted in exchange for anything of value. Boom, flat, done. And if we can prove that you got this pardon through some gift you have given the administration or the president, then that is a violation, right? 2, self-pardon should be barred. That seems very self-evident. So it seems clear, very easy to understand and digest. Boom. And pardons issued in conjunction with a case involving presidents or their family members should trigger a release of all relevant investigative materials to Congress to ensure greater public transparency. That's the 3rd thing, more transparency. Any pardon related to the president or his business associates or anybody related to his campaign, any pardon having to do with anything like that, immediate transparency through Congress. And I said, Scott, has anybody tried to do this? And there are attempts. 3 main attempts. All went nowhere. 1, 2021. This was to ban a pardon for family members, business partners, or anybody related to the Trump campaign or to a president's campaign. Ban any pardons for any of them. I mean, we could just say Trump campaign, honestly, but that was in 2021. That went to committee, never made it out. That was a joint House resolution. Then another one came in behind in 2025 for the exact same thing. Ban the administration from pardoning anybody in their family, related to their family or their family's business, and anybody related to the campaign or donations to. That went to committee and never made it out. And then here comes Blumenthal. And Blumenthal, he put forth the Pardon, Transparency, and Accountability Act in 2025. And that has gone absolutely nowhere. It was referred to a committee just like the 2 House resolutions, and it has gone nowhere. And it will go nowhere, even in the face of all this. Doomed. Doomed. This guy has unitary power, right? That's what Stephen Miller, he himself had said, unitary power. And they meant it. They didn't just mean it. They didn't just mean it in terms of military action. No. That's the big slip. He meant it overall. Overall, unitary power. Unitary power to apply tariffs. Unitary power to move our military around and our National Guard around as his own personal army. Unitary power to pardon whoever the hell he wants. Unitary power to pull funding from blue cities. Unitary power to prosecute all of his enemies. That's what it's all about. But I'm not supposed to say dictator. I'm not supposed to say authoritarian, right? Then I'm being hyperbolic. That's me taking it a step too far. And by the way, just a final little aside. A bunch of these pardons, this is just a little add-on. It's again, you have to be immune to irony to work for this administration or be a supporter of this administration. And in just delicious irony, Seven actually. 7 of his pardons, including the pardon for Daryl Strawberry, Glenn Casada, and that New York Police Sergeant Michael McMahon. Remember the Chinese spy we talked about? Them and 4 other pardons that were listed on the website, the pardoning website, all had identical signatures. You know, the president didn't actually sign them himself. They had copied and pasted the Trump signature on all of these pardons. This administration, after jamming this stupid auto pen conspiracy down our throats about Biden forever, he goes and he illegally puts an auto signature on all of these people's pardons. Crazy. So some forensics experts immediately went to work on this. And they all found, he absolutely just copied and pasted it. Absolutely. Chad Gilmartin, a Justice Department spokesperson, said the website was updated after a technical error where one of the signatures President Trump personally signed was mistakenly uploaded multiple times due to staffing issues caused by the Democrat shutdown. There it is. We're even going to get them involved right there. The Democrat shutdown. Quote, there is no story here other than the fact that President Trump signed 7 pardons by hand and the DOJ posted those same 7 pardons with 7 unique signatures to our website. There's no story. And noted degenerate and White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson wrote an email that Trump signed each one of these pardons by hand, as he does with all of his pardons. The media should spend their time investigating Joe Biden's countless auto-penned pardons, not covering a non-story. Boy, Abigail Jackson, man, you can always count on her to bring the filthy dirty. A whole show filled with cram and berry. Some pardons were like Cram's pardon. You do enough violence for me? You make someone hurt, someone bleed for me? That's a special kind of love. And you can get a special kind of pardon from President Trump, your cult leader. Or maybe you're more like Barry. And you got a deep, deep pocket. You got a lot of cash to throw around. You or your family. Literally go do whatever you like. And then send 2 defunct criminal lobbyists with $1 million in their bag and get your pardon. Or go donate $1.7 million to Trump's presidential campaign. Or drop $1 million into a super PAC. Or finance a $2 billion transaction. And you can do whatever the hell you want. This administration is open for business.
They'll try to repair the narrative, but Brett Breaks Things will be back tomorrow to break it all down.